All right, in this video, I'm really excited because we have the opportunity to make a pull request contribution to an open source repository, and we're going to be able to do it in just a few minutes. It's super exciting. Now, this is when you find an opportunity to contribute to the documentation of some project. So maybe it's the official docs, like the Laravel docs, which we're going to review here in a minute. It could be the README of just a package that you use. Or it could even be maybe some inline comments within the code that you might find an opportunity to modify and make things a little bit more clear to other people who come behind you. So first things first, we need to find that opportunity to contribute to the docs. So you've found an opportunity to make a contribution to some open source project to their documentation section, which is great. This is super valuable. Don't feel like this isn't, because if you see all this documentation here in Laravel, which is just one open source project, I mean, this is why Laravel is so easy for people to pick up. So you are really doing a great service to all of your fellow developers by making a contribution to the docs. So I want to show you, there's an undocumented feature of the Laravel form request that I want to show you really quickly, and then we're going to submit a PR to the docs repository to document that feature. So if you imagine you have a form here, this is just a demo app, obviously non-functional. You've got a title and a slug, but we want the slug to be optional. So if I say migrate first post and leave this optional, I just want to turn the title into a slug. Or if I want something custom, I could type it here. So let's just look at the code real quick. This view is what we just looked at. When you submit that form, it's going to post to this endpoint. And when it gets here, if it gets to the controller, we're just going to die and dump the request. But it has to get through this form request first. And so you can see here, I've created these rules. The title and slug are both required. Now, obviously, that's kind of in conflict with this being optional. So if I try to submit this form, it doesn't work. Now, what I want to do is turn this into a slug before I get to these validation rules. And Laravel actually makes that very easy with this method called prepare for validation. So I'll uncomment this out. And so what happens when you get to this form request, before you get to the rules, you're going to come in here and you have the opportunity to update or change some of the input that was provided by the user. So you can see here, if the slug is null, if nothing was entered, we're going to turn the title into a slug and then assign it to the slug input. Otherwise, no matter if they did type something, we still want to make sure it's in a slug format. So we're going to do that here, and then we're going to pass it along to the rules. So now that I've uncommented this method, let's go back here and submit the form. And you can see now we passed validation and sent through the validation to the controller. We've turned this title into a slug. And then if we go back and custom first post slug, and you can see I haven't added the dashes here, but our prepare for validation is going to take care of that. So this is really neat. I think it's great, really helpful. There's a lot of different use cases for it, but it's not documented. So let's go ahead and submit the PR to document that now. So if we go back to the docs site, for Laravel, every open source project you work with is going to be a little bit different. Laravel actually makes it super easy to do this PR. So if you look at their docs website, you can see /validation here. And if I go to their GitHub repository, and you do need to make sure that you are logged into your GitHub account, there's no directories or anything. We just need to find validation. And when we come to the bottom, we'll see the validation markdown file. And this is it. So you might think, okay, I need to fork this repository, clone it, bring it down to my local machine, make some updates, push it up to my fork, figure out how to submit the pull request. We don't have to do any of that. GitHub makes this so easy. After you watch this, there's no reason why you shouldn't be contributing to docs all the time. So you come here, you realize there's an opportunity to make an update to these docs. Just click this pencil. This will fork the project and give you the opportunity to edit the file. So I'm going to click here. And now we've created a fork of the project. So now on my GitHub profile, I have a fork already. I'm already editing this file, and all I have to do is make the changes here, and it works. And so this is great for docs. It's also good if there's like a one-line change in in code that you wanted to submit as well. But a lot of times if you're doing code, you want to do that in your text editor or IDE. But in this case for docs, this is wonderful. So one thing to note, it is really important when you submit a PR to docs and code as well, but it should look like the person who created this documentation is the one who made the edit. So just take a look at how everything is structured, formatted, and you want to make sure it's exactly the same. So this is the form request section. I want to create a subsection here, and we're going to call this prepare input for validation. You can see I started with a lowercase f, but as I look at all of the other headings here, every word is capitalized, the, on. So I want to make sure, again, make it look exactly like the person that created this file, and you're going to have a much better chance of your PR being accepted. So now I want to link to prepare input for validation. Okay, so I've got the section now. Now I just need to go put it just above this manually creating validators. So I'm going to Command F, manually creating validators is right here with its anchor tag. So I'm going to go right above it, and I'm actually going to copy the link and the header here. So again, and actually let me go to the very top, and I want to make sure this link works. So I'm going to copy prepare input for validation, come down here and paste it. And then I think I can type this without messing it up. Prepare input for validation. Okay, and now we just need to document the method that I just showed you. So I'm not going to type all that up. I'm just going to copy it from my other screen. And there we go. So again, if we compare what I'm submitting to this one right above, it's very similar. We have a one-sentence description of what this does. We have the method itself, including this is the doc block that came directly from the Laravel code base. And then this example, I think, is very straightforward, and anyone who understands Laravel at a pretty basic level can understand how this works. So I think this is good. We can preview the changes. Let's just make sure. Yep, we've got a link here, so that looks great. If I scroll down, here's what I added. I think it looks great. So if I go all the way to the bottom, I'm ready to propose the file change. So this is your commit message, same way as if you were writing a commit message from your terminal. Let's see, add prepare for validation method to docs. If I can add an optional extended description here, I don't think there's any value based on the simplicity of the change I'm making. So I'm just going to propose the file change. All right, now this is going to create this patch 1 branch on my repository, and there's no merge conflicts, obviously, because I just merged off of the Laravel Docs 2 minutes ago. And then I can review it one more time. You can see everything I did. I think it looks great. So all I have to do is create the pull request. And one more submit. Oh, I do, before I click that, allow edits from maintainers. I always leave that checked. It's their repository. If they want to make a change, great. I just hope I was helpful. So let's create the pull request, and there we go. So that was it. I've submitted a PR. If you've never submitted a PR before, it really is that easy. And getting started with documentation is such a great way to contribute to the community. The docs are so helpful. That's why I love Laravel and a lot of the packages within the Laravel community, because they're all documented so well. And you did it. So one other thing I do want to mention, now that you've created your PR, it's out of your hands. As I mentioned before, your goal is to be helpful. So I'm confident what I submitted there was helpful. Are they going to merge it? I don't know. They might merge it with no changes. They might say, hey, we need some changes. They might edit everything I did. They might decline the PR and never even tell me why. Even if they decline it without giving me a reason, they still looked at it. They still, went through their brain. Is this something I really want in the docs? Is this important enough to be there? And they made a decision. And if they decide they don't want it there, then they probably have a really good reason for that. So regardless of what happens with this PR, I know that I've been helpful. And that's your goal here. So that's submitting a docs PR. Again, it also works for really small code changes, and it allows you to avoid all the hassle of cloning a repository and installing it on your machine. It's not difficult, but there's a lot of steps, and we skipped so many steps by doing it this way. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you take this information and go make lots of PRs to lots of docs repositories for different projects.